very, very interesting and fascinating time for analysts and experts like you and for journalists like us to be discussing what's happening in the world, particularly in your area of expertise, which is trade. For the folks who are tuning into this conversation, how would you describe this moment in global trade? Completely fragmented, the old era over, and a new uncertain multipolar bilateral trade alignment in the works?
Good question. What we can see, especially, we've released a flagship report called our Global Collaboration Barometer. And to go directly to your question, what we see there is that the architecture of international trade is changing. Multilateralism facing some headwinds, to be sure, but we're seeing also, interestingly, the rise of minilateral and plurilateral deals. We also released our chief economist's outlook last Friday, and therein you see that chief economists expect 94% of them expect to see a continued acceleration of bilateral trade agreements, whereas 64% of them expect to see an acceleration of regional trade agreements, which I think really demonstrates where we will see, or how we will see the rules of trade evolving going forward.
You know, in India, we would obviously be interested and are interested in what happens with our US negotiations or with the European Union. But give us a sense of the global trade realignments. Are many other countries trying to protect their interests and getting into one-on-one deals, given what the United States is doing for the past year or around that time?
What I think we see is, going back again, we are noting a strong rise in regional trade agreements. Just last weekend, we see the EU and Mercosur concluding a deal. But I also want to note that the nature of what is traded is changing. So we're seeing a continued acceleration, for example, of digital trade. So it's not just about goods trade today, it's also about the delivery of services online and also across borders through digital means. For example, digitally delivered services had a 6% increase last year compared to only about a 2.4% increase in merchandise trade. And so there, I think it's interesting to see that some regions are also negotiating specific rules to encourage that type of trade. For example, the ASEAN group of nations have recently concluded a digital economy framework agreement, which was quite exciting, and we ran some dialogue to help provide some insights on what would be most useful in that area.